I believe Aang can save the world.
Howdy nerds of everywhere, it's me, ShrugPod, and today I'm here to deliver you the first video of Avatar Month. After months of watching, filming, writing, and procrastinating, which is honestly what I've done the most of, I'm finally here to review Book 1 of Avatar. So this month there will be 8 videos in total, about 2 every week, so that means that if you watch the schedule, that means that today there's gonna be a video reviewing Book 1 of Avatar, Book 1 of Water, which is really good. And so I'm finally gonna get into the review. In an alternate form of Earth, we see that there are 4 sets of different countries based off of Aristotle's original periodic table, with that being fire, earth, air, and water. The inhabitants of this planet have the ability to control those 4 elements, and as such, form the colonies of the Water Tribe, the Air Nomads, the Fire Nation, and the Earth Kingdom. So, in order to keep peace in this world, there is somebody called the Avatar who is able to control all 4 of the elements. And the Avatar, being so powerful and all, has a reincarnation cycle, having a new Avatar be born as one Avatar is dying. So there's able to be one Avatar in every single lifetime, basically. So after the last Avatar that we see in the series, his name is Avatar Roku, a firebender. After he passes on, there is a huge gap of 100 years that we don't see the Avatar. In this case, the Fire Nation takes over a large majority of the world because there is no Avatar to keep the peace. But finally, after 100 years, a young Water Tribe girl and boy find the Avatar, one of the last Airbenders, stuck inside of an iceberg. But soon after, they realize that he actually is the last Airbender, and they find out that he's the Avatar because he also waterbends as well as airbends. And this young boy's name is Aang. He's a 12-year-old boy who has the responsibility of taking the Avatar as his responsibility. So now it's up to Aang to master all 4 of the elements and defeat the Fire Lord, the main person who is leading the Fire Nation. And this season revolves around him having to go to the North Pole to learn some waterbending. Now, what you're probably thinking is that this story seems simple, right? Wrong. You think that it'll be a simple A to B plot structure, just like a normal TV show, just like a normal kids television show, but this is no kids show. This kids show has more advanced plot structure development that some adult shows envy. Like, huge corporations envy this show because of this plot structure that it sets up. Like, you'll see that there's really no, like, progression in the story because some episodes may have nothing to do with the plot progression, but you still feel like that they're getting closer, unlike some shows have just pointless filler in between everything. And it makes it have an A, B, C momentum instead of just going to point A to point B. Going from point A to point B to point C now, because the amounts of subplots in this show are insane. This story is something that it excels at. This show excels at storytelling because it's so aware of what exactly it needs to do. Every single episode is set up in a way that it knows where the plot needs to be. Because we know how this turned out, but this show could have been wasted very easily. Like, the potential for this show could have been wasted super easily, especially with the huge convoluted plot. It could have been messed up super easily, honestly. Of course, some episodes can be kind of slow and boring, but for Avatar standards, that's still pretty good. Now is to the best part of the entire show as a whole, the characters. The characters in this show are super memorable, making them some of the most recognized characters of 2000 animation. First up, we have Aang, the Avatar and also the last Airbender. His peaceful and kind demeanor leads people to believe that he's nothing but just a small, weak child, which he isn't. He may be a strong airbender, but the responsibility of the Avatar is something that it should be led up to, and not something that a 12-year-old child should take on as his own. A lot of people see him as a symbol of hope, but him being 12 and just being a weak child, or just a child in this matter, he can't help but notice that he's just one kid. He's not strong enough as people see him. He takes out armies and loads of Fire Nation soldiers and pirates and tons of other people, but he can only do so much as a kid. It's something that you have to realize when you're watching this show, because that's the main character struggle for Aang. He knows his limits, and it shows that because of the inexperience that he has. He understands his limits and knows exactly how far he can go. Even though he deals with a lot of the character problems of him being strong, he's always able to make people laugh. That's one of his pros, because he's still able to make people laugh, even though he's just a child, which is what children are supposed to do. They're supposed to make people smile, but then he also has to be strong since he's the Avatar. So it's a balance of comedy as well as him being a strong, peaceful Avatar, all kind of meshed into one person, and Aang has to figure out who he needs to be. Next up is Katara and Sokka. Katara is the only female waterbender in the entire Southern Water Tribe, and her entire goal throughout the series is to become a master waterbender, even though she's a female, which in their culture is seen as taboo. They're mostly just the healers and not people who go out into the battlefield, but she wants to become a soldier and become a master waterbender. She's a super nice girl, peaceful, and wants everything to be just without harm, but sometimes her patience runs thin, and sometimes she doesn't know how to handle people. She always wants to keep people safe, but sometimes she knows exactly when to fight. Something that you kind of notice is that she wants to become strong so that way she doesn't lose people like her mother, which she lost when she was younger. And she wants to keep them protected, so she wants to protect Aang and Sokka. Sokka, Katara's brother, is similar to her, as they both have kind of the same character goals. He, just as much as her, wants to become strong as well. Him being a comic relief character means that a lot of people don't take him as seriously as he should, which you shouldn't, because he's a comic relief character. But basically, his luck and also his skill are two separate things that mix together, but it gives him also a great sense of character arc, because he wants to become strong just like Katara, but he kind of can't since he's not a bender, so he has to realize his limits as well, because he can only do so much as a non-bender in a world where the dominant scale of people are benders. Katara's best moment, in my opinion, is in the episode where she meets Jed. She realizes that she's not able to protect everyone, but she has to stay strong no matter what. She realizes that even though she has hatred in her heart towards the Fire Nation, death doesn't mean winning. Because as Jet wants to destroy an entire village just to get rid of Fire Nation soldiers, death doesn't mean the victory, and it makes her very upset, and a huge character development for Katara in that episode. Sokka's best moment, on the other hand, is when him and his romantic attraction find each other. Sokka finally shows his strength where he has to give up Yue, the moon spirit, so that way that there can be balance in the world again and that the world won't crumble. His first girlfriend became the moon. That's pretty rough. Even though that it was short-lived and it wasn't developed too well, it's still a lesson that Sokka needed to learn about being strong and how to let go to people and make sure that he doesn't become too attached in this war that they're fighting. Finally, the last character I'm going to be talking about in depth is the antagonist, Zuko. Zuko is the prince of the Fire Nation who is set out to find and capture Aang. Throughout the season, we see that he's just kind of an arrogant hothead, which is ironic because he controls fire. And he wants his goal achieved in any way possible. There was a time where he even sabotaged his side of this war just so he could capture Aang himself. His quest to restore his honor for his father, the Fire Lord, is shown throughout the entire season, being the main struggle for Zuko. But later on, we see that Zuko's honor and Aang's responsibility kind of mesh together, and they're not so different as we think that they are. In the episode The Storm, we see this very well, as Aang and Zuko at the very end, after the backstories have been told, both made eye contact, like there was some kind of link between them, and they realized that they're not so different. Zuko by the end of the season has a hard time to struggle about where he needs to be, about what path he needs to be on. But maybe through some pain, he can finally realize exactly where he needs to be. Now, I could explain the other characters like Iroh, Zhao, Yue, Pakku, but similar to Fullmetal Alchemist, it's so many good characters that would take a long time to explain in depth, and I would be here for hours on this video, which I don't have time for, and you don't have the patience for, basically. Now, this season, there were 3 different animation houses that worked on this season, and I'm going to be going in depth with them just right here in this section. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is an animation studio called Tin House Inc. Now, I don't really have too much to say about Tin House. They were the ones that animated the pilot, which is a good-looking pilot, don't get me wrong, but I don't really have much of an opinion on them since I've only seen 1 episode, but even then, I'm not a huge fan of the pilot, because they kind of named Katara Kaya in that. That was her name originally. Feel me? Enough said. Now, the second animation studio is called JM Animation, which did 11 out of the 20 episodes for this season. Now, JM, I feel like, did the best job this season, or did the better job, because their episodes had more fighting-eccentric based episodes. There was more action in them, more fighting, more, you know, bending. Yeah! Fire! You know, stuff like that. And I feel like that they did the better job out of these 3 animation studios. Now, here, for some examples of the episodes that they did the episodes Jet, The Storm, and the second part of Siege to the North, which was the season finale. Their animation style seems more typical to Avatar, and it's a lot of the episodes that I feel like that you would look at normally. They seem to be the most popular episodes, is what I'm trying to say. The third and final animation studio that I'm going to be talking about is an animation studio called DR Movie, which their episodes are a bit more calm, but they still have some action in them. Now, action as in not as much bending action, but just some more action. Now, a few examples of theirs are The Blue Spirit, both parts of the Winter Solstice, and finally the Southern Air Temple. They seem to have more calm episodes, but add more effects, in my opinion. Now, you may think I'm a tad bit crazy for picking an animation studio that seems to both have very similar tastes for working on this. Of course, Nickelodeon Animation worked on this, but they were the ones who assisted the most, and they were the ones that produced this. But for 2 very similar animation studios, I just feel like JM did a better job. After doing some research on seeing what other animations these 2 animation studios have worked on, DR Movie has almost no recognizable names under their belt, having little to no animation like that they originally produced. And JM, from what I could find, has nothing at this point. But for Avatar to be under the belt of these 2, that put them pretty high up there, because Avatar has pretty dang good animation for the time that it was produced. Now, Avatar is, as a lot of you know, a very well-known name in TV animation. The amount of influence that it has given to other television shows and other cartoons is absolutely phenomenal. From someone who loves the animation industry, whether that be American cartoons or anime from Japan, I can very well say that this is something that almost any animation fan will love. This is only the first season, and I still loved every single second of watching it. Like I said, I got bored, but it was still such an entertaining journey to see. And this is only the first 20 episodes of a 62-episode series. And this isn't the first time that I've watched Avatar the entire way through. My opinion hasn't changed since 2010, and I'd say that it's pretty impressive that it's stayed the same all of these years. So, with that in mind, I think I'm going to give Avatar Book 1 Water a 9.1 out of 10, making it a Shrug Premium Review, basically. That's what I gotta say. If you're interested in buying the whole series, and I suggest you go honestly and buy this sucker right here, the complete series thing right here. I have had it up here the entire time. along with the book 1 DVD right here. See, look, you get book 1, then you get books 2 and 3 in it as well. And it's about $30, which I honestly think is a really good deal. So I think you should go pick that up. But if you're one of the people that honestly think that buying them separately is better because, you know, money problems, you can go buy all of these separately and buy them all in 3 separate DVDs. It doesn't really matter because they're all the same thing anyways. It really doesn't matter. It's just your choice, man. Do what you want. So, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, tune in until this next Friday, as I will be reviewing Book 2 of Avatar, hoping that my internet doesn't go out. Oh, joy. But, for updates on any kind of video, on any kind of update, follow me on Twitter. That's the only place. Subscribe, and that's also another place, so you want to keep up on me. Other than that, I don't think I have anything to say. But I will see you guys in the next video.